Most people pass by a child holding a cardboard sign without a second glance. Elon Musk stopped, not because he had time, but because something in the boy's eyes wouldn't let him leave. It was a raw Tuesday morning in Seattle, the kind that settled into your bones. Mist clung to the air, weaving between the glass towers and pine trees, turning the streets into a quiet blur. Elon's rented black Rivian SUV glided to a stop at a red light just outside Pioneer Square. He was late. Not fashionably late, but embarrassingly so, for a high-stakes meeting with engineers from SpaceX and NASA. His phone buzzed. Camila, his assistant, again. Another meeting pushed. Another reporter request denied. He let it go to voicemail. His hand hovered over the gear shift, foot poised for green. Then he saw it. A boy, maybe 9 or 10, standing alone by the crosswalk. A blue hoodie several sizes too big drooped over his small frame. Sneakers torn at the soles. His face pale and serious beyond his years. And in his small hands, gripped tightly like it was the last thing he owned, a piece of cardboard. Written in shaky blue marker, "Please help my mom. She's not okay." The light turned green. He didn't move. A car behind honked, then another. A delivery van swerved around him, driver mouthing something obscene. Still, he sat frozen, staring at the boy. Elon had seen desperation before, on the faces of people in war-torn cities, in refugee camps, in his own childhood in South Africa. But something about this boy's posture, defiant, quiet, not begging but pleading, gripped him. He pulled over, ignoring the angry gestures of a passing cyclist, and stepped out into the cold. The boy watched him approach, wary. His fingers clutched the sign tighter, like it might blow away in the wind. "Hey there," Elon said softly, kneeling to the boy's eye level. "I'm Elon. What's your name?" The boy blinked. "Noah." "Noah's a good name." Elon paused, then nodded toward the sign. "Mind if I ask what's going on with your mom?" "She's sick," Noah said. "Real sick. She was coughing for weeks, now she can't get out of bed. We're in a shelter nearby, but the medicine she needs is too much." Elon noticed the boy's chapped lips, the tremble in his voice as he tried to stay composed. "Does she know you're out here?" he asked. Noah looked down. "She thinks I'm at the library." Elon exhaled slowly. "Listen, would it be all right if I walked with you to meet her?" Noah hesitated. "You could be anyone." "That's true." Elon pulled out his phone and showed him a photo, an old article with his face and name in bold. "See? That's me. Space rockets. Weird tweets. Not a total stranger." Noah cracked the faintest smile, then nodded. "Okay. But it's not far. Just don't tell the shelter people. They don't like visitors." They walked in silence through the side streets of downtown, Noah leading the way. The boy's steps were confident, too confident for someone his age. Elon noticed how he glanced behind them now and then, not out of fear, but habit, like someone who knew how to stay invisible. "We were in an apartment," Noah said suddenly. "Before Mom got sick. She worked a lot. Some office job. Then she passed out at work one day. After that, everything got worse." Elon didn't ask more. He listened. When they reached the shelter, it was a squat beige building tucked between a grocery outlet and a parking garage. The entrance was covered with a tarp. A handwritten sign read, "Max capacity. Please check back tomorrow." Noah didn't lead him inside. Instead, he turned toward a narrow alley on the side. "She can't handle the noise in there during the day," he explained. "She stays out back." They stepped into a tiny cement courtyard, and there, on a wooden bench with a wool blanket wrapped around her shoulders, sat a woman. Her eyes were closed, but she wasn't asleep. Her head lifted as they approached, then narrowed at the stranger behind her son. "Noah," she said sharply. "Who?" "It's okay, Mom," Noah said quickly. "This is Mr. Elon." He saw the sign. I think he can help." Elon stepped forward slowly. Hi. I'm not here to cause trouble. I just saw your son. He reminded me of something. The woman tried to stand, but her body swayed. Elon instinctively moved to steady her, but she held up a hand. I'm fine, she said. Her voice was weak but firm. I don't take charity. I don't offer it, Elon replied gently. At least not the kind you're thinking of. She steadied him. You're really him? The Tesla guy? He nodded. She looked at Noah, then back. Her shoulders sank slightly, the edge of fight softening. I'm sorry. I'm just tired. What's your name? Elon asked. Maya, she said. They sat together in that alley for the next hour, Maya hesitant at first, then slowly opening up. She used to be a project manager at an aerospace firm. Contracted years ago to consult with companies like Lockheed, Blue Origin, and once, briefly, even SpaceX. I remember your company, she said with a soft laugh. Back when you were still the underdog. Elon blinked. Wait, what was your last name again? Maya Kwan. The name hit him like a hammer. He knew it. From a file. From a project. From a voice on a conference call nearly a decade ago. You worked on the Artemis heat shield simulations, he said, almost to himself. Maya looked surprised. You remember that? You saved us 6 months of testing with one email. She shrugged, coughing slightly. I guess it didn't mean much in the long run. Elon sat back, stunned. This wasn't just a woman down on her luck. This was someone who had once helped advance the very mission he was now known for. And now she was sleeping behind a shelter, depending on her son to scrounge for medicine. That was the twist. Not the poverty. Not the sickness. But the invisibility of someone who once mattered to the very system that had since forgotten her. He looked at Noah again, and then at Maya. The gears in his head turned faster than rockets in orbit. Would you let me help? He asked, no longer as a stranger, but as someone who owed her far more than he had ever realized. Maya stared at him for a long moment. And then she nodded. The air in the alley felt heavier after Maya nodded. Not because of the cold or the damp Seattle fog that was beginning to creep down the brick walls, but because something had shifted. A silent agreement passed between two people from very different lives, tied together by an invisible thread of memory, talent, and time. Do you trust me enough to take a first step? Elon asked gently, still crouched beside the bench. Maya hesitated, her gaze flicking to Noah, who looked more hopeful than Elon had ever seen a child look. One step, she said. Not a rescue. Not pity. Just something I can walk through with my head up. Deal, Elon said, standing. It started simply. Within the hour, they were seated in a quiet clinic 10 minutes away, thanks to a call Elon made that apparently opened doors no one else could. Dr. Santosh, a pulmonologist on retainer for a biotech partner of Tesla, greeted them with a quiet nod, more interested in Maya's oxygen levels than Elon's presence. I can't pay, Maya began immediately as she sat on the exam table. You won't need to, Elon replied. This one's on me. The examination revealed what Elon feared but needed to hear. Severe post-viral complications. Low oxygen saturation. Pulmonary scarring. Months of inadequate care and missed medications had pushed Maya to the edge. She's not critical, Dr. Santosh said after a full workup. But she's in the red zone. Another couple of weeks like this, and we'd be having a different conversation. Elon stayed quiet. That's the kind of line he didn't take lightly. When the doctor stepped out, Elon sat beside Maya, who had her arms folded and eyes on the floor. I don't want to be a case study, she said quietly. A feel-good headline. Elon Musk saves homeless woman who once helped his rocket program. I can already hear the clickbait. I'm not here to save you, Elon said. I'm here because I didn't realize until today that someone who helped me build the future has been left behind in the past. That's on me. And if I'm serious about changing the world, I don't get to ignore that. Maya exhaled slowly, weary but softening. And Noah, she asked. He's missed school. He's too smart to fall through the cracks. But he's falling anyway. We'll fix that too, Elon said. And he meant it. That night, he put them up in a long-term suite at a hotel near Lake Union. Nothing flashy. Just warm, clean, and private. 2 beds. Strong Wi-Fi. A kitchen. A working heater. Noah ran around the room in wonder like it was a castle. Maya stood in the doorway for a long moment before stepping inside. As if crossing that threshold meant admitting that yes, this was real. You're still welcome to say no to all this, Elon told her as he brought in the last of the pharmacy bags. Anytime. No expectations. No payback. Maya gave him a tired smile. I've learned something about pride these past few months. It doesn't keep you warm. Doesn't fill your kid's stomach either. She walked into the room. And the door closed behind her, for the first time in weeks, with a lock on the inside. The next morning, Elon canceled all meetings. Again. Camila was apoplectic over the phone. Elon, we've got defense contracts waiting. Journalists. A Mars colonization update. You can't just disappear. I can, he said. And I am. Reschedule. He stared out the window of the hotel hallway for a long time before heading back to the suite. Maya was sitting at the table, flipping through Noah's homework packets with her usual focused intensity. She looked sharper today, her face not as pale, her back straighter. Color was returning, not just to her cheeks, but to her energy. I haven't been a patient before, she said without looking up. Feels weird. Elon chuckled. You were the most relentless systems auditor I ever worked with. If you can handle SpaceX budget engineers, you can handle a nebulizer. You remember that? Every engineer remembers the person who redlines their project in front of the CEO. Maya finally looked up, smiling slightly. Guess I left an impression. You did. Which is why I have a question. He pulled up a document on his phone and slid it across the table. It was a contract draft, Tesla Foundation remote consultant agreement. Flexible hours. Healthcare covered. Primary duties, reviewing internal safety protocols for new staff training. Fully remote. Maya stared at the screen for a long time. You want to hire me? I want to reintegrate the people we lost, people like you, back into roles they never should have been pushed out of. You're the first. But not the last. She looked at him, disbelief coloring her face. Why? Because smart systems don't discard their best parts. They adapt around them. A pause. Noah will have access to a tutor starting Monday. A therapist too, if he needs. And if you want, we can talk about something longer term. Housing. Schooling. A job pipeline. Not just for you. For others like you. Maya wiped a hand across her eyes. You always did think in scalable solutions. Comes in handy. Fine, she said. But I'm not a symbol. You're a blueprint, Elon corrected. For how we fix what's broken. What came next wasn't magic. It was process. Maya met with Tesla HR remotely, walking through new work systems. She took small health steps, daily meds, short walks, breathing exercises. Noah re-entered the school system under a special reintegration plan. He was a week behind on fractions, but miles ahead in maturity. And Elon? He called a meeting of the Tesla Foundation the following Friday. He didn't start with charts or budgets. He started with Maya's name. And her story. He didn't say, "Look who I saved." He said, "Look who we left behind." And then he said, "We fix it." All of it. But the world wasn't quiet. Not for long. A guest at the hotel recognized Elon one afternoon. They posted a photo. It went viral in under 3 hours. Elon Musk seen escorting woman and child into Seattle hotel, mystery act of kindness? By nightfall, Maya's name was trending. So was Noah's. By morning, the media trucks were outside the hotel. And everything threatened to unravel. By sunrise, the parking lot outside the hotel looked like a battlefield of camera tripods and satellite dishes. Noah pressed his face against the hotel window, staring down at the crowd gathering near the entrance. "Mom, there's a news truck. And another one. Look." Maya pulled him gently back from the glass. "Stay away from the windows, baby." She turned toward Elon, who stood near the doorway, phone in hand, tension written across his features. "This wasn't supposed to happen," Maya said quietly. "I know." He had already made calls, first to Tesla security, then to Camila, then to a private PR advisor. But he knew how these things worked. A wildfire burns fast, and controlling it completely was a fantasy. "My life isn't a PR opportunity," Maya said, her voice tight. Elon shook his head. "This isn't about publicity. It's about protection now." A knock at the door interrupted them. It was Raj, one of Elon's trusted security men, along with a second guard. Both wore plain jackets, blending into the background. Exactly the way Elon liked it. "We'll escort Ms. Kwan and Noah through the service entrance," Raj said. "Cars waiting underground." Maya hesitated. Her instinct was to run, to shield Noah, to vanish into the gray anonymity of the city again. But she knew they couldn't outrun this alone. She looked at Noah, who was trying to stay brave, his hands gripping the straps of his small backpack. "We're ready," she said finally. The back corridors of the hotel smelled faintly of cleaning supplies and old carpet. Noah clutched her hand tightly as they wove through service hallways, stairwells, and finally into the underground parking garage. A sleek black Model X waited with tinted windows. Elon opened the door for them himself. "Where are we going?" Noah asked, his voice small. "Somewhere safer," Elon promised. They drove in silence for a while, weaving through side streets and back routes until the skyline of downtown Seattle faded behind them. After 20 minutes, they pulled into a gated property nestled in the wooded hills near Bellevue. It was a small, quiet guest house, owned, of course, by a friend of Elon's, someone who owed him more than a few favors. "Stay here as long as you need," he told Maya as they stepped inside. The house was cozy, with soft couches, warm light, and most importantly, no cameras outside. Maya sank into a chair, exhausted beyond words. Noah sat beside her, still clutching his backpack like an anchor. "I'm sorry," Elon said after a long moment. "This should have stayed private. I should have anticipated this." Maya shook her head. "You didn't ask for the world to notice." "No. But I underestimated how hungry the world is for a story." He paced for a moment, thinking. Then he turned to her. "We have a choice," he said. "Either we hide and try to wait it out, or we tell the story ourselves. On our terms." Maya looked at him skeptically. "Tell the story?" "Not the polished billionaire narrative. Not the tragedy porn either. The real story. About resilience. About systems failing people they shouldn't have failed. About fixing it. And if we do?" Maya asked. "Then maybe," Elon said quietly, "you don't just survive this. You change it. For others, too." She looked at Noah, who was listening intently. "This isn't what I wanted," she said. "I know," Elon said. "But maybe it's what's needed." 3 days later, Maya sat across from a local journalist in a modest recording studio, hands trembling slightly. Elon had arranged everything, no sensationalism, no tabloids. Just a straightforward interview with someone who actually cared about the bigger picture. No makeup team. No fancy backdrops. Just a chair, a mic, and Maya's quiet, steady voice telling her story. She talked about working long hours in tech and aerospace, about raising Noah alone after her husband's accident, about the illness that took her health and her job in one sweep, about the months of slipping through cracks in the safety nets that were supposed to catch people like her. She never once mentioned Elon by name unless asked. She didn't need to. The story wasn't about who had saved her. It was about why people like her shouldn't need saving in the first place. And when the interviewer asked what she wanted now, Maya didn't hesitate. I want a world where helping one family doesn't feel extraordinary. Where it's normal. Expected. Built into the system, not dependent on luck or someone famous passing by. The interview went live the next evening. And the ripple effect was instant. Donations flooded the shelter where Maya and Noah had stayed. Schools across King County launched supply drives for homeless families. Employers reached out to the Tesla Foundation, asking about remote work models and flexible healthcare programs. And quietly, without fanfare, the Tesla Foundation launched the Relaunch Program, a pilot initiative offering retraining, remote opportunities, and medical support for displaced workers, starting with fields like healthcare, education, and aerospace. Maya's name wasn't plastered across the banners, but her fingerprints were everywhere. She had become a quiet catalyst. A blueprint, just like Elon had said. And it all started with a kid and a cardboard sign. One rainy afternoon, 2 months after the first viral photo exploded across the internet, Elon visited the guest house again. He found Maya sitting at the kitchen table, laptop open, scrolling through applications for her new role managing the Relaunch intake team. "You built this," Elon said, nodding at the screen. Maya shrugged. "We built it." Noah bounded into the room with a grin. He had made the honor roll at his new school. His backpack bulged with a science fair project about solar energy, a topic he couldn't wait to show Mr. Musk. "Hey, Elon," Noah said proudly. "Guess what?" "What?" "I'm gonna build rockets too someday. Just like you." Elon smiled. "You'll build better ones." He believed it. More than anything else in his life, he believed it. Spring in Seattle doesn't announce itself with sunshine. It arrives quietly, buds along the sidewalks, lighter jackets on strangers, and a softness in the rain that feels more forgiving than before. Maya stood at the balcony of her new apartment, a cup of ginger tea in hand, watching Noah race down the sidewalk below with a group of kids from his school. His laughter echoed off the building walls. It had been years since she'd heard it so freely, without tension woven into every breath. The apartment was modest, 2 bedrooms, a small kitchen, laminate floors, but it was theirs. Not a favor. Not a loan. It came with her role at the Tesla Foundation. Fully earned. Fully independent. Inside, her tablet buzzed with messages, an inbox full of follow-ups from participants in the Relaunch program, now expanded to 5 cities. Single parents, nurses, engineers, former teachers, people who had nearly disappeared from the workforce but were now back in it, supported, retrained, and thriving. Maya replied to each message personally. It was slow work, but she insisted on it. Because she knew what it felt like to wait, and to be forgotten. One evening, Elon invited Maya and Noah to a small gathering, a quiet dinner hosted at one of his properties on Bainbridge Island. Not a press event. Just a circle of people who were shaping what would become something much bigger. Around the table were leaders from companies, nonprofits, a former governor, and 2 people Maya had once idolized from a distance, a retired astronaut and the CEO of a major healthcare provider. When the conversation turned toward the usual metrics, impact rates, funding cycles, growth projections, Maya cleared her throat. "May I ask something?" she said. Everyone turned to her. "What's your plan for when this stops being inspiring?" she asked calmly. "When the news cycle moves on and no one's sharing stories anymore? When it's just hard work and spreadsheets?" A long silence followed. And then Elon leaned back in his chair, nodding slowly. "That's the moment we'll know we're doing it right," he said. "When no one notices because it's become normal. Expected. Boring, even." Maya smiled. She hadn't asked to become part of a movement. But now, she couldn't imagine sitting on the sidelines again. 6 months later, on a quiet Tuesday morning, Maya received a package at her office. Inside was a framed photo, the three of them, Elon, Maya, and Noah, standing outside the Tesla Foundation's new Seattle office on opening day. Noah was holding a sign that read, "We remember where we came from." Tucked behind the frame was a handwritten note. "You were never a charity case. You were the spark we didn't know we needed. E.M." Maya placed it on her desk. Not for herself, but for the people who would walk through her door next, each carrying a version of the story she had once lived. Not all would have a billionaire show up beside their bench. But now, they didn't need one. They had each other. And they had a system that finally saw them. That weekend, Elon visited Noah's school for Career Day. He didn't give a flashy talk. He just sat beside Noah as he presented a science project titled Energy for Everyone, a miniature solar-powered shelter design. When a teacher asked what had inspired the project, Noah didn't say Elon Musk or Tesla or even my mom. He said, because sometimes, when life knocks people down, all they really need is power in the right place. Key lessons from this journey. Not every person who falls has failed. Sometimes the system failed first. True leadership isn't loud. It's steady, unseen, and driven by quiet conviction. We don't need to fix the world all at once. We just need to stop pretending it's unfixable. Stories can ignite change, but only if we act after the inspiration fades. If you felt something stir in you during this story, a memory, a quiet ache, a sense of purpose, don't ignore it. This story isn't just about Elon, or Maya, or Noah. It's also about you. Books to keep your flame burning. 1. Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor E. Frankl. A timeless reminder that even in suffering, we can find purpose, and that purpose can carry us through anything. 2. The Moment of Lift by Melinda Gates. A powerful exploration of how empowering one person, especially a woman, can change a community, a company, even the world. Buy one of these books. Highlight one idea that moves you. Write it down. Do one thing this week that reflects it. Not for the world. For you. Because change doesn't start in boardrooms or newspapers. It starts in quiet places, just like this one.